final game of today.
And in the battle for first, what I expected to happen did right off the bat, and that's the removal of Dude's champion, an MVP in his own CBLOL finals with the champion Thresh. Absolutely, get that away from him.
Next ban coming out is going to be Elise from Supermassive, targeting towards Napon, who has banned out Graves. Not only has still managed to pick up that champion here today, a very popular ban currently, despite the nerfs that have hit him recently.
Yeah, and again, we still have to look at Ivern as this other champion of choice. Red Candids would be the team that bans it away if they choose, but it does still leave open things like the Lulu just be outright taken away. When you're forced into a Thresh ban because Dude's playing so well, you're forced into an Elise ban because of how Napon performed in his last game. What's left for you to actually get rid of? And do you look at an Ivern at all? Or do you actually hope that Red Candids don't ban it themselves?
You can see that, you can hear actually the home crowd from Brazil cheering on their team, Red Candids. Crowd favorites, the Brazilian team playing in their home turf. They will definitely want to be picking up a 3-0 here, not only for themselves, but for their fans who are watching at the studio and back at home as well.
Always the sixth man, right? Just having that extra crowd behind you, the backing, you can feel the vibrations in a stadium when the team is so enthusiastically supported by everybody there.
And with that, all the bans will be rounded out for the first ban phase, as we had Malzahar finally banned out by Supermassive, with Zyra and Ashe being taken away by the Red Candids. That does leave Ivern as well as Varus open.
Yeah, Varus is the other big one. Yes, Ivern stands to attention. Lulu's also a big point of contention, but Ivern usually crops up as number one. Things do change, but Varus is also a very big deal.
And Supermassive go for the Lulu pick as their first pick of choice. This now gives Red Candids the chance to pick up Ivern and potentially Varus.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they want to actually pick up the Varus when they need to get rid of Caitlyn from this Lulu-Caitlyn combo that we've been constantly seeing. Ivern makes sense, should be locked in, but their second champion of choice. Do they actually go to the Varus?
And they go towards the Caitlyn, like you mentioned, Rusty, allowing Supermassive to pick up that champion if they choose to do so. So far, both the teams drafting quite well in the first pick phase.
And it's all adapting to the games that they've had today, or the games that they've seen of their opponents today. Again, target bans from the Supermassive roster. We now look towards their second and third picks, and you'd expect jungle AD carry. This is where we may see a Varus crop up.
Well, let's see what Supermassive decide to pick up. First up, it's going to be Lee Sin to go up against the Ivern, probably the second most popular jungler at the moment, barring maybe Elise, who is constantly banned out by multiple teams.
Bat and Graves always being removed from the board as well, always banned away, so good to see. Stomage, very good, prolific Graves player historically, also able to hard carry with his team through all of the wildcard qualifiers of old. Still doing it now.
And like you predicted, Rusty, Varus picked up for Supermassive to round out their first pick phase, leaving their solo laners for last, and we should see the same thing from Red Candids.
And so perhaps a Karma expected once again. This is the standard support into the Lulu. If you want to match control of the wave, you've got a Karma, so you should have a strong 2v2. If they do lock this in, there's going to be a lot of contention through the middle lane and the top lane specifically, but because we're in the second part of the ban phase and pick phase, Red Candids have a slight advantage.
And that's exactly what gets locked in for Red Candids here, as Karma's picked up for Dude in the bot lane. Still some chance to be flexed in the mid lane. We have seen it from time to time in the LPL, in the LCK as well. But we'll have to see what the final four bans are going to be between these two teams. The Syndra taken off the table right away from Red Candids.
And the beauty of this is that Robo as well gets the opportunity to counterpick with all of his diverse champions that he has locked in already in this tournament. He now gets the possibility of a last pick, which is where the Syndra ban from Red Candids comes in and does make a little bit of sense. It feels like they'll set themselves up with a mid champion that is at least not going to lose in the 1v1.
Whoa, respect ban coming out from Supermassive here as they ban out Darius towards the Red Candids. No more dunking for you, Robo.
It's just a very awkward ban to look at on your ban list. They remove a top laner, you'd have to expect another top laner to be taken away from Supermassive, but there's still things like Gragas up and available. You've got the Shen if you want to default to something like that, and they've got to protect the Caitlyn composition, where Shen would just be divine.
Orianna is the final ban from Red Candids, so another mid laner being taken away. Shen still left up and available if they decide to ban that out. But the final ban coming out from Supermassive will be Cassiopeia towards Tuckers.
Okay, so Red Candids, 3 mid lane champions taken away from them. We mentioned the Karma can flex, you're absolutely correct. Unlikely.
Whoa, Tuckers deciding to rise to the occasion here, Rusty. Picks up Rise heading into the mid lane.
Yeah, very roam heavy champion. Of course, Talia's still a champion that can come up and potentially match the strength of a Rise. The laning phase, a little bit more contentious as to who would outright win that one, but there are options. always going to be present for Supermassive, even with all of the bans there. Mid lane just has the most diverse champion pool.
Red Candids do get their counter pick for the top side of the map with their final pick later on in the draft stage. Supermassive still yet to show top lane or mid lane as they lock in Galio, which they have played once today already.
And for all intents and purposes, that is the top lane Galio. If they do decide to throw a spanner in the works and flex the pick for themselves, and they can put it mid, but expectations are definitely towards the top lane. So they've got a champion that can wave clear, does a lot of base damage, builds straight tank, and can support and let his team carry. But what you always need with a Galio is something like a Lee Sin, something that can go into the backline so that you can go onto them.
And one of those champions could potentially be Echo, who loves to phase dive into back lines. And that should be Naru's pick of choice to go up against the Rise.
Yeah, so again, that should be the mid lane champion. Supermassive completed their team composition. Red Candids with their last pick remaining, looking towards the top lane. Where does Robo go again?
We'll have to see. So far he's played Darius, he's played Jarvan. That seems like the pick of choice for him. I mean, this could get locked in, and again, we'll see Robo playing another dunker that Jarvan's picked up for the top lane.
Now, there was one really cool thing about Robo when he was actually playing the J4 was the fact that he was so aware of how the champion works in laning phase. When you're W maxing, you don't have a lot of damage, you don't have a lot of lane pressure. In fact, you would have to imagine that from the point where Fabulous gets level 3, maybe even level 5 and beyond with all of his natural wave clear, just from the champions kit, the Robo has to sit back under his turret. But what we saw the last time he played was that the W shield's massive. If you try and dive him like what Chippies was doing on the Olaf, well then you're gonna have a pretty bad time actually locking him down and killing him. Very strong player.
Excited to see how this lane's gonna pan out though, because Galio top side of the map does do very well in the laning phase. Jarvan has to sit back and relax for some time until he picks up the Tiamat. If he's going towards more tanky route, if he's going a little more aggressive and picks up some AD there, might be a different story.
And that's the big thing we have to highlight as well, right? They've got a Lee Sin Galio, and they've even got an Echo who focuses mostly on wave clear in the middle lane, which means they do have a strong top side of the map. There is a chance that that is where Supermassive focuses, puts all their attention towards, perhaps keeping the Ivern down, invading or even ganking in that area of the map.
And we already talked to Dumbledore earlier. He was incredibly confident going up against the Red Cannons bottom lane of BRTT and Dude. And Dude, he said, well, if they're confident to go up against us, we're ready to take them on. So that could potentially be the case in this game. Both bottom lanes are happy to sit bot lane on their own.
Yeah, Dumbledore's legitimately said he doesn't think he'll lose to any bottom lane within this group. Dude said he had a plan. And so now we get to see that plan in action. BRTT on his Caitlyn, supported by Dude on the Karma. That's not his Thresh, but it's close enough.
You see the hometown crowd here from Brazil supporting Red Cannons who take on Supermassive. The two #1 teams of Group A battle it out to see who is going to be first place to wrap up day 1 of Group A.
And as we hop onto the riff, once again, the early pressure always highlighted around the jungle position has been mentioned time and again, but Ivern just seems to be the best champion at the moment. But Blue side has a 100% win rate, I believe, today, and Ivern's on red side. So most seriously, we're going to have to see how this one does play out.
Let's see if the blue side advantage, so to speak, plays off for Supermassive to try and upset the hometown favorites. These two teams are the favorites of Group A, followed probably by Rampage and Direwolves behind that.
Depends who you ask, of course.
Don't ask us. Different story.
You ask a Brazilian fan, Brazil definitely the #1 team, though. You ask a Turkish fan, and the same thing applies in the converse direction.
And as you've mentioned already, the 6th man of Red Cannons will definitely be helping them out today. They want to prove their hometown, or they want to make their hometown proud. The best way to do so is to finish off nice and strong in the first day of MSI play-ins.
One cool thing as well that we are seeing from Supermassive is a red buff start from Stomaged. There is going to be a ward actually spotting him at the Raptors, however, when he does go towards that camp. So it's going to be most likely noted by Napon as to where he wants to go. And this is more so an expectation from Stomaged to go red, probably to the enemy blue buff instead, because he knows that his blue buff is always going to be in jeopardy. So good awareness from Supermassive this early in.
Supermassive do have vision control as well towards the bottom side of the jungle, so they know Ivern has not started on his blue buff. In fact, he just marks the red buff, moves over towards Raptors and smites that away. At the same time, Stormage has taken my red buff and did not walk over the Raptors ward, so has not been spotted out by Red Cannons yet.
It's a bit of a 50-50 as to where the Ivern's going to go, but he's the one who always has tempo because he can come over to his next camps. Doesn't have smite. In fact, he's running super low on mana, so curious that he has gone for this clear that he has chosen.
Yep.
Because he may have to have an early recall, or he'll have to sit somewhere And you just wait for mana to come back.
Well, his red buff should be up and online. That will give him some health regeneration, not too much, and maybe his might back up by the time he heads towards Krugs. But bottom side of the map, where we thought the focus was really going to be in this game, BRTT and Dude already laying down some pain over towards Double Doge and Zeitnot, who have been forced off of this minion wave.
And that's the Caitlyn Karma in effect. You know, Double Doge does a lot of damage to champions and can control the wave a little bit with his Lulu, but Caitlyn matches that. And Karma definitely matches that as well. So if they ever protect each other, they 2v2. Outright victory you'd expect goes to the Caitlyn and the Karma, especially with how they're playing.
Making his way in towards the mid lane, Tokus has locked up Naru. Here comes the Lee Sin, trying to dodge around minions, flash over the wall, gets the Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike, but Tokus holding on to his summoner spells, only using Ghost to get out of that sticky situation.
And that's because the Ivern's nearby. Good respect from Samaj to not actually come in, follow that any further, commit too hard for the kill. The flash was also used by that Lee Sin though, unfortunately, so for what it's worth, pans out in an okay spot for Red Candids. Still forces the Rise to go back to base, but the timing is still sound as he gets his tier. That was most likely going to be the recall timing either way.
Meanwhile, during that time, we got a chance to check in with the Keystone Masteries for these two teams. The only one that really stands out here is going to be the Thunderlords for Double Doge, up against the Windspeaker's Blessing picked up by Dude, as well as the Warlord's Bloodlust for the Caitlyn. So we should see another Infinity Edge Caitlyn over the Blade of the Ruin King here today.
You would have to imagine so, but sometimes it changes depending on what they would like. It does still make the most sense against the current team that he's playing against to go for the crit build, chunk them out, burst the Echo, prevent him from using his ultimate offensively, and have to use it defensively.
Bottom lane again, BRTT and you getting so much poke damage on towards Double Doge and Zeitnot. Did see the longsword start for Zeitnot, so it does have a couple of extra health potions.
And they're doing this with Ivern on the top side of the map, with no awareness realistically of where Stamaj is going to be on this Lee Sin. So you'd say, hey, perhaps that's a little bit aggressive. Could be a little bit risky, but because they're winning this lane so hard, the health advantage that they had until about now was quite substantial. At this stage though, BRTT might want to get the cannon, or miss the cannon and run the heck away.
Missed most of those minions, as he did miss his 90 caliber net, which would have put quite a bit of damage down towards the Varus. Napalm will get spotted out here as he tries to mark up the Raptor camp, finally heading back to base for the first time. Speaking of heading back to base, multiple champions have been able to do so. Lee Sin has picked up his upgraded jungler item. Tracker Snipe already complete. Dark Seal in the mid lane for Naru with his Doran's Ring. And we do have Tier picked up by Tokus already, nice and early for Rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that forced recall out of the Lee Sin gank, making him get the tier that early. Still going to be matched by Naru, who has the teleport. And that's just the pace of the mid lane. It's always going to be about wave clearing, always going to be about just trying to either prevent their opponent from roaming or roaming themselves and matching it. That's what you want to see from Naru.
But does that mean that later on we'll see SuperMassive pick up or move in towards a 1-3-1 here, because they've got the double teleport picked up, Echo as well as Galio, fairly decent at split pushing, whereas side of Red Candids, they have the Jarvan, who really wants to get into a team fight, it seems.
Always a possibility, but when you look at what SuperMassive also want to do if they want to actually try and engage, that's a lot of damage.
Stepping on back onto that trap that was placed just behind the tower. Always catches players by surprise.
The sneakiest Caitlyn trap that you can place. The red side advantage as well, being able to have that trap there, means that if you are pushing in, you are on red side, usually it's just too difficult to step up and farm the minions.
So Napon trying to make his way down into the bottom lane. Zeitnot and Double Doge just below half health. Lee Sin was making his way down, but it was just to take out the scrying plants. Eventually though, Ivan will leave this lane. BRTT continues to poke up against Zeitnot and Double Doge, but Tokus has been jumped on. Here comes Stomach, forcing the flash out of Rise, and again, Tokus lives through another gank from SuperMassive.
Able to absorb all of this pressure out of the Lee Sin. They've watched him through wards, clear the Gromp, go top lane, back through the ward, go to the bottom side of the map, but they've got control wards set up here, SuperMassive. The pressure's still there from Naru in this mid lane against the tier of the Rise. Has Storm Raiders, doesn't have Courage of the Colossus. He is susceptible to these ganks, as so is Napon. Smash has no Q though.
Napon will be able to take down one control ward, finds a second. Wanted to root up Naru, but says, oh, 30 gold, I'll take that instead.
And that's all of the vision cleared. Of course, more wards having to be placed down to try and prevent the jungle from being invaded. Second red buff available for the Lee Sin also. But we're looking more towards the level 6 point for the side of SuperMassive. That's when it really matters for them. They get the Lulu ulti, able to then leave the lane Varus ulti, able to actually provide a form of engage for their team. Same thing applies with the Lee Sin hitting 6. Until that point, they don't really have engage other than Naru hitting his parallel conversions.
And we finally had the bottom lanes go back to base. A BF Sword for the Caitlyn, whereas Bilgewater Cutlass picked up by Zeitnot. Even top side of the map have gone back to base. So Fabulous has picked up 2 Doran's rings, whereas the side of Robo, he's got his Tiamat, which is where Jarvan wants to sit comfortably for the rest of the laning phase. Both top laners still holding on to their teleports.
So at about this point, Robo then becomes a actual pushing champion, not a completely irrelevant top lane champion. Means that Fabulous has to show a little bit more respect. And there is potential then to not just be stuck under the turret, to have the ability to leave the lane, constantly roam around.
Yep.
But Galio, just by design, has so much wave clear that it's really difficult to challenge him for anything.
And if you leave the lane first and Galio follows shortly after, his ultimate will come in handy. He's able to get the jump on towards the opposite team. Now though, Stomach might find Napon inside of his own brush. Just sitting there, puts a ward down, tags him with Sonic Wave, doesn't follow up. As you mentioned, fairly awkward.
But Ryze was in base, so Napon can't actually contest for it, which is why Daisy comes out. He's going to be a scout for the team. Just waiting for the blue to spawn. Or not spawn, sorry, be ready.
Still standing on top of a ward. Does look like Stomach wants to get close. There we go. Napon picks that one up. We'll be able to donate that one over towards Sockers as well. He'll be very happy to pick up a blue buff as Ryze. Pick it up.
But still, there's so much vision on that side of the map for Supermassive. Lots of trading. That's a red buff, remember, on this Jarvan.
Robo, more than happy to go toe-to-toe against Fabulous, does not use his W there.
There is someone coming up the river, though, to where he just walked towards.
Gonna have to be careful. Fabulous looking for the fight already. Taunt connects as he slides his way out, charges up the uppercut, but Naru's here, smacks him with the baseball bat and picks up first blood in the top lane for Supermassive.
And all it took was the flash, which was definitely still traded. Naru has the teleport, choosing to walk back to this mid lane, though. Doesn't want to be at risk of getting locked down by an Ivern. And this should still be well and truly defensible. So great moves from Supermassive, getting to the top lane, finding a kill, utilizing the fact that Robo had a red buff. He was going to play aggressively, use his health bar and try and match it. The sustain, the health regeneration that comes from red is why that happens at all. They capitalize.
Big play from Fabulous as well. He was able to get the taunt halfway through the slide combo from Robo.
And that's a cool thing about the matchup as well. If you're charging up a taunt, Jarvan doesn't magically disappear from your area. He throws down a flag before he drags himself to it. You've got a window where you can counter it with the taunt.
So in this match between Napon and Stormage in the jungle, something that was talked about quite heavily in the analysis, it's still fairly even. I mean, 3,000 gold for the son of Ivern, about 300 gold behind for the Supermassive jungler, but it's very different from the Lee Sin against Ivern match we saw in the last game between Rampage and the Direwolves.
But again, the one thing that isn't even is the fact that Naru is playing extremely well, has got a gold lead, has got teleport, and that first kill for his team being the first blood. So as the map opens up, as everybody's looking at Zeitnot, all eyes are on keeping him down. They're doing that with the draft. But who's going to stop the Echo?
And it's something that we see used a lot against Syndra's. Echo using the ultimate to avoid Syndra's ultimate, avoids lots of damage. Similar concept against Ryze, really. Once the burst combo comes through, use it, regenerate all your health, and go fight back with your Time Winder.
And you know, there is a real chance that as we progress further into this game, Naru's going to have a super challenging time killing anybody on Summoner's Rift, just because it's an Ivern to shield people up. Jarvan has his own shield, Ryze has his own shield, and then the Caitlyn's just going to be absolutely protected without fail. And so who does Echo actually assassinate? If he was behind, the answer is nobody. Especially but the fact that he's ahead, he can.
Especially with Karma in the lineup for Red Candids, that's going to help shield up the entire team. But look at this, Naru already wants to fight Tokus. Tokus stands his ground. There's the ultimate being used, back to full health, nice and easy. Does have blue buff available, so that will reduce the cooldown slightly, about a minute and a half before that's back up again.
Yeah, using it to trade, not using it to all in. Wants to stay as high health as he possibly can. But against the Catalyst as well, out of the Ryze, he should be okay as they're setting up for this.
Naru throws out a good W there, but Dumbledore is just the one that gets locked down. Daisy not able to get a knock up against the Lulu. As Red Candids happy to sit on top of a pink ward, and Fabulous was trying to move down into the bottom lane as well, getting his ultimate to make sure he can protect anyone from Supermassive who decided to dive in.
Absolutely, utilizing that pushing lane is this is what you expect to see constantly in the top lane. There's always going to be pressure for Fabulous. He's always going to be able to push in the Jarvan, even with the Tiamat.
Stomach forcing Dio to flash away as the speed up came out from Dumbledore, helping out the Godfist Lee Sin.
Lots of damage from that Lee Sin. Hasn't quite got his jungle item yet. When he does, people will melt.
Very big power spike for Zeitnono as he has picked up his Blade of the Ruin King just against the BF sword of Caitlyn.
Yeah, good window of opportunity. Caitlyn's item build usually goes towards the Hurricane.
He hasn't been spotted out here, so Lee Sin is right behind Caitlyn. BRTT caught in the built-over Peacemaker animation allows Stormage to pick up a kill.
Just completely stuck with his pants down, BRTT. No response there because he's stuck throwing out the Q. So Supermassive, 3 members strong, pushing this bottom lane, even tanking the turret here and there to try and keep the minions alive for just a little bit longer. They won't get it with this wave, but the next one is sure to follow and sure to be the structure going.
Dumbledore was confident heading into this bottom lane. There was not too much action that took place, but still the first kill for the bottom lane goes over towards Supermassive, and now Tokka's taking a beating from this Echo in the mid lane.
Yeah, and just the fact that Dude isn't there means the bottom turret falls Naru, already 1-0. The ability to roam top gives him that lead. We get to see this kick again though. As he was queuing, there is legitimately nothing that he can do to respond to that fantastic kick.
Turned into a little
Stormage.
critter as well by Dumbledore, making it even harder for him to escape from that. VOD not going to be too happy with that gank. Supermassive, like you mentioned, took down bottom lane outer turret. They got good damage on the mid lane outer as well, and are looking fairly confident heading into this match against Red Candids. 2,000 gold in the lead just 14 minutes into this game.
And that's the thing, we highlight where do these junglers want to go? Are they just going to invade each other? They're just going to pressure each other. Well, one's an Ivern, so he's just going to be a farm jungler, try and play the map a little bit more, support his team, scale up, get some shields, get some items, and support Caitlyn. Stormage plays the early game jungler, plays the level 6 impact jungler, and actually finds that opportunity, keeps BRTT down, and now sets the bottom lane of Supermassive up to get the turret. Now rotate towards the mid lane, set up a 1-3-1 that they can put themselves in with 2 teleports there. This is exactly where they want to be.
And there's still no item power spikes for Red Candids. Robo's still sitting on components. No redemption for Napon. Tokka's hasn't even completed his Rite of Ages.
And that's the thing, it's about timing. Not just that they got the gank in the bottom lane. Like, the fact that you have a Blade of the Ruin King, we mentioned this much earlier, that's when the gank happens, right? So that's a window of opportunity where Zeitnot's going to be doing more than BRTT. But he's also going towards the crit Caitlyn build. So now that he's behind, he stays behind for a little bit longer just because of how accelerated the bottom lane goes. I mean, it's not a massive gold lead that Supermassive have accrued for themselves, but you can start to see the spillover effect that it has.
Well, you look at the other side of the map, Supermassive, like we mentioned already, Blade of the Ruin King picked up Warrior's Enchantment for Stormage, which is a big upgrade for Lee Sins. Even the Sunfire Cave tossed him out, allowing Galley to continue pushing on his own as Naru. Some quick feet there, he's able to get away from that gank using the flash of the wall. Meanwhile, BRTT low, forced to use heal and flash to get away. Dude even getting his exhaust down there.
Yeah, Zeitnot throwing out the ultimate, able to lock them down, keeps summoner spells of his own, so even after that Caitlyn ultimate, confidence in his team. Pressure on the mid lane turret.
Supermassive keep pushing on. Napon stops Naru from diving into the back lines with a snare. Gallia was waiting to pop his ultimate if Naru decided to dive on in. Has the Proto Belt available if he wants to get even deeper behind the back lines, but still a 2,500 gold lead for Supermassive. Again, commanding this game against Red Candids.
And we've already highlighted this earlier in the day, but Red Candids, the Brazilian side, have been lacking just a little bit in their mid-game strength. Most teams have been able to give it back to them, even just a small amount in their performance, especially against Rampage, when they were able to get that advantage back from a 5-0 at least running around on Napon. But now they're doing it from a deficit. And so we have to watch how they actually play this one out. Can the slow, calm, methodical, Supermassive side actually continue this Rampage? Or will Red Candids be able to hold on and show they do still have what it takes from a mid-game deficit, not lead?
You can see the hometown crowd still cheering on Red Candids here. The Brazilian team have high hopes heading into this group stage. Group A was looked to be the strong group thanks to the fact that Turkey as well as Brazil were in this group. We'll finally get to see them playing here today. And as expected, 2-0 up for both these teams. Only really tested by Rampage, who finished the group stage 0-4.
And they give a blue buff over to Stormage. There was slight amount of pressure from Jude, but they don't give it to the Echo. That is one of the more curious decisions. I mean, he was there. He was right there. Varus walked over.
Doesn't need it.
Evidently. Has a Sheen, has mana. Might have the enemy blue?
For now, though, Supermassive are setting up on the top side of the map. Stormage clearing out a couple of control wards. Xynon and Double Doge are going to continue pushing. These Iver brushes are deceptive because Napon is waiting in the wings. They do ping it out though, so they feel like something is going on, something fishy, you could say.
And Justice is also running through the jungle just behind Naru. Again, smudged. Naru, if they dive the tower, they've got a Galio to go immediately on top of them, something that always has to be remembered. But in this case, Red Candids say no to the fight.
Yep, they back off with Caitlyn in the bottom lane and Galio trying to cheat up through the top side of the jungle. Red Candids give away another outer turret as Supermassive increase their gold lead to about 3,500 gold ahead of the Brazilian favorites.
Yeah, it's just too much to respect, honestly, running around as a group. They're trying to trade, they're trying to get the mid lane turret. Eat your heart out, Vedius. They are trying to do as you suggested, but it's just not happening.
Supermassive continuing their push top side of the map. Robo is stuck alone to deal with this one. That's fabulous. He wants a piece of BRTT. He's going to give him some justice himself. BRTT's just running away, but he chucks a couple of punches into his face and takes him down one-on-one.
Your cupcakes do nothing, VRTT. They're actually just placed as an afterthought as Galio casually lists over them. Secures a kill. That is a big Galio now running around.
And with Teleport in the bottom lane for himself, Fabulous going to continue split pushing for Supermassive, making sure that the rest of the team can be grouped up as 4 and trying to capitalize on a 4-on-3 fight.
And they can't afford to have Caitlyn die. They can't afford to have Caitlyn split pushing. All of these things now get exacerbated further. Fabulous has brought the minions up with him. Supermassive now collapse themselves, and so much pressure on all these structures.
Naru into the back lights, Jude down to less than 200 hit points. And Supermassive use that dive to take down the bottom lane inner turret.
As it stands, 19 minutes into this game, Red Candids are trying their best to trade to get these structures, but there's no kills, there's nothing to be seen, absolutely just the number 0 as it all starts from hitting the knockup, plain and simple, as trap 1, trap 2, throws a third one out for good measure. Unfortunately, none of them are actually able to save his life. He was doomed to die.
Yeah, Fabulous doesn't want any of your cupcakes, BRTT.
But still,
Supermassive.
0 kills, 0 turrets. Not a lot of hope right now for the Brazilian side. They will still get there first.
Robo will at least stop a perfect game here and potentially pull back some of the gold lead for Red Candids. Naru is sent towards top side of the map, just going to clear up this minion wave for Supermassive. Tacos is waiting in the wings. They're trying to take out a control ward. There is a Galio coming in if Naru needs him. There it comes. Superman's going to come back down, but Red Candids get the heck out of dodge and avoid the knockup.
And the control ward lives. That's what really matters here for the Turkish side. It's a statement that Galio can and will do this, but it's also a sign of what's to come if team fights do start happening, as the crowd is trying to be that 6th man and really get them into this.
Although it's a 4,000 gold lead for Supermassive, it's not over yet for Red Candids. Yes, incredibly far behind. But again, once this man in your screen, BRTT, is able to pick up an Infinity Edge for himself, that could definitely change the way this game is played.
Yeah, they've got the redemption for the Ivern, and it's really hard to dive Red Cannon's team composition just as a whole if they are ever grouped up. Even if they just have Ryze and they don't have Jarvan there, it's just a 4-man group. But your Caitlyn traps preventing the siege. Ivern to shield people up, Daisy in general just to disrupt if a team fight does break out. It means that Supermassive can't dive the structures unless they have a numbers advantage outright, or an advantage to the point where their items are just substantially further ahead, and that's not going to be the case anytime soon. They need to find other objectives, and for me it's Drake and it's Baron. If they can bring Red Candids to the Baron, then they can fight them in that area for it, because Red Candids won't be able to set up. They won't be able to put the Caitlyn traps down. They'll have to check.
And now Supermassive very happy with going into a 1-3-1. They've got Naru in the bottom lane. Fabulous is top side of the map on Galio. He has his teleport available. So does Naru. Stormage, Zeitnot, and Double Doge are sitting around the mid lane and cheating in towards Fog of War when they can. And Naru's on a turret with a Lich Bane.
Jarvan has to come down. He's going to have to respond. But at this time, look at where Supermassive are. Actually, he might just be in trouble.
He's trying to get right behind Naru. There's the Paralock Convergence, looking to try and keep him alive. Does get a big shield, tries to take down Robo, flashes over the wall, and gets the heck out of there.
Meanwhile, they're definitely looking at the Baron. It's at half health.
Well, here comes the teleport. Robo's trying to get in. Even if he does, it's still a 4-on-4. with them trying to get into the back lines. Will he get the smite? It's taken away by Snowmarch. Robo wanted to try and steal that one, but SuperMassive get the major objective.
Teleport in.
They've got Echo coming into the back lines. Blast Code gets them back to safety, but Robo does get taken down. Jude is trying to get the heck out of Dodge as well, as SuperMassive increase their gold lead.
And that was a subtle thing, but the taunt out of Fabulous to prevent Ivern from getting it at all, just sitting on the edges of the Baron pit, preventing that steal. Massive victory for SuperMassive. Not only do they just get themselves the Baron, Naru lives, is able to teleport in, and now they pressure extra structures. This is a complete and utter disaster for the Brazilian side.
Mid lane, inner turret taken down by SuperMassive. Stormarch is prepping away from the top side of the map for the final inner turret to fall here. Now SuperMassive rotate the rest of their members towards the top side of the map. Almost looking like it's going to be the most convincing game of today here, Rusty.
Yeah, in a battle of the 2-0s, this does feel like the most clean, holistic, almost macro type of victory. They are playing it properly. 1-3-1, go for the objective, which was the Baron. We already mentioned why the Baron's super important. What's also just important to take out the structures in the end is, this is the big thing we need to highlight. Not only does he block the ult, watch the taunt out of Fabulous. As they are stuck, there's no way for him to get over the wall, as Stamaj does get over the wall. I believe he wanted to kick them as he came back in. The Q was already on the Baron. So he secures that one for his team. Compliments of Fabulous, as Zeitnot definitely doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, Stormarch and Fabulous played out fantastically. Lee Sin jumping over the wall, ending the taunt with a kick, getting back into smite that one away. Made sure there was no scenario where Napon could steal that one with a flush smite. Robo tried his best. Unfortunately, the slide combo from Jarvan's not enough to take down a Baron. SuperMassive increased their lead by taking another elemental dragon for themselves. Ocean Dragon has been picked up here.
Yeah, there's going to be another one just afterwards as the pressure continues. Naru going to be hitting the top lane. He's going to be 1-3-1ing one more time. They've already got the Galio bottom side. That's where they're going to start this one off, is actually Red Cannons are in.
Red Cannons want to go for a fight, but here comes Galio with a big three-man knocker. BRTT is locked down as well. Robo, who started the fight, has already got the heck out of there as Red Cannons lose their AD carry.
And the desperate engage backfires, SuperMassive sieging the base.
They're going to be able to take down the mid lane inhibitor turret. Inhibitor is next. SuperMassive definitely going to look for more because they've got a wave prep top side of the map.
Absolutely, they've also got one bottom, so pick and choose wherever you'd like to go. Zeit not just going to walk through the turret. Minions are here ready to go, timed perfectly. This is very clean.
It was a Hail Mary play from Robo and it didn't work out for the Red Cannons. SuperMassive get 2 inhibitor turrets and 2 inhibitors take it down already, and they still have half a Baron buff to work with.
And that's what you want to see from Galio as well, out of Fabulous one more time, showing his skill on the champion, but it's because Red Cannons are engaging. They're desperate, so they have to go forwards. Their team composition definitely does not want to go forwards. They've got an Ivern. They want to pick and choose their battles and slowly whittle down your health just that little bit more every single time. But because they force it, everybody's going to get knocked up by the hero's entrance. As you get back over to those Krugs, Lulu.
Stormarch knocking Double Doge away there despite all the help he's given him this game. We can check in with the gold. Big lead for Zeitnot. At the moment, 11,000 gold to 8,000 gold on BRTT. And Fabulous is just a massive tank at the moment. Baron buff will finally expire on SuperMassive when everyone except for Stormarch.
And frankly, just as it stands, BRTT may have 2 items completed, but those 2 items do not even compare to that of his opponent. The damage is just too real. Nothing's going to stop the Galio from killing Caitlyn at this stage. That's just where we're at.
As you mentioned, Caitlyn's just going to stay behind for so long, and they're going in again. SuperMassive, they're not afraid of no one. Stormarch deep into the back lines, kicks Robo back of all people. Doesn't matter because SuperMassive goes in, big taunt onto 3 people with Naru diving into the back line as well. BRTT is going to get taken down. Robo's trying to run for the hills. Fabulous is a giant gargoyle who is wreaking havoc into the back lines, and SuperMassive are going to try and push for the win here.
Definitely looks like they're going to push for it. There's 3 members alive, but I don't think they have enough to prevent this.
Here they go. Icon's not quite in sync, but they're happy because the Turkish lineup have been able to pick up a win here against Red Cannons to go 3-0 in Group A, day 1 of MSI play-ins.
And after a victory like that, it's safe to say that the Turkish side are your favorites in Group A. They are the #1 team, and they just proved it convincingly against the opponents that you might have expected to be a bit closer.
I mean, especially when that was a near-perfect game. all dragons taken away, all barons. The only thing that stopped that from being a perfect game was the fact that Robo got a turret in the top lane.
Yeah, that was, I'm going to say, a clutch turret to save themselves from a perfect game on an international stage. That's something that rocks you. To be 2-0 up, yes, you're still in a good position. They can reset because this is their last game for today, and they'll be happy about that. If that was game number 1, if that's how today started off for the Red Candids, it could have been a different story.
And other than that, so far, for SuperMassive, the only thing that has really tested them has been the team that's gone 0-4 in the first day of groups, which was Rampage, and they're just looking so dominant.